Florida rapper Boston Richey and his paperwork being exposed.
That sounds so ominous. His Boston Richey and his paperwork being exposed. Like he's a snitch and he's the one that's responsible for the conviction of DeAndre Wiggins. Let's just back up a little bit. DeAndre Wiggins in 2016 was responsible for the murder of Tavares Bass. Tavares Bass is Boston Richey's cousin. That's a well-known fact. There's a gun. They had DNA on the gun. They had Mr. Wiggins' own statements that he inculpated him, and he pled guilty. So there wasn't a trial. There was no snitch that testified against him. And so let's kind of look and see what exactly Mr. Foster or Boston Richey, what he said actually. He was interviewed and he lived at the same address. So witness 3, and let's say witness 3 is in fact Boston Richey, was interviewed. Witness 3 is a relative of the homicide victim and resided at Keith Street residence where the homicide occurred. Nothing wrong there. Witness 3 reluctantly recounted an incident that occurred approximately 2 months prior involving the defendant. So he's not even talking about the murder that happened. Witness 3 stated that he or she had been in a Frenchtown neighborhood when the defendant threatened him with a firearm. The incident supposedly occurred because Witness 3 was associated with Tallahassee's South Side. That's not snitching. In fact, if you're being accused of something, that's you standing up for yourself. That portion of the probable cause statement is really foundational and really can't be used to inculpate Mr. Wiggins on this case. Mr. Wiggins was scheduled to go to trial, and he didn't go to trial, but 2 of the witnesses have recanted their statement. There is no evidence that Mr. Richey or Mr. Foster was going to testify in this case. When you look at 1090 Jake's presentation of evidence, he puts up a document that says witness list. But just because somebody appears on a fucking witness list doesn't mean that they're going to be a witness. Here's what I do in all my cases. I take every single person that's named within a police report, no matter where it is or what they think they have to offer. I put everybody on our witness list. That way, everybody's included in case maybe they have some nugget that you're going to use later and you didn't think about. And if you don't have him on your witness list, you can't call him, right? Saying he's a snitch and giving this sensational bullshit about paperwork can get people killed. Well, 1090 Jake should not have gone where he went with this. I think it's really dangerous. There was an original post by one of Kodak Black's NFL Tuwop, and he posted some shit about Boston Richey, about his paperwork. Take a look at the paperwork. That's supposedly where this witness list came from. And when you have ops or whatever, people talking about this and talking shit like that, this kind of talk can get somebody killed. I've got the probable cause statement right here, and I've gone through it in detail, and there's absolutely nothing in here where he says, I saw him kill them. You know, I mean, it just didn't happen. So here's the only other portion of the affidavit or the probable cause statement where Mr. Richey is named, or at least witness 3 is named. The defendant admitted to knowing witness 3, the relative of the victim. The defendant confirmed that he and witness 3 had a past altercation, which is the same thing we heard earlier. The defendant, I mean Mr. Wiggins, denied witness 3's account of the altercation. He stated that approximately 2 months prior, witness 3 and his or her brother had arrived on Dunn Street armed with Kalashnikov, AK, style assault rifles and threatened him. So the cops know about this stuff. If Mr. Richey is recounting something that happened before, it has nothing to do with this. But it had everything to do with a beef that he had, and the 2 of them gave varying accounts. At the beginning of this, it's sensationalized. And it's sensationalized in a way to say, hey, look, oh my God, he's a snitch. That's really what it's trying to say. But let's just listen to exactly what he's saying.
Investigators interviewed witness 3, who according to the witness list is Jalen Foster.
Now let's just say, according to the witness list, whose witness list is it? Court doesn't give you a witness list. The witness lists are presented by parties. So did Wiggins put him up as a witness? Or did the state put him up as a witness? He doesn't tell us. And here's the thing, when you look at that video, there's no pleading heading. You know, if you look at what a pleading is, it's got a caption to it. This is what a pleading looks like. Do you see how it has a caption? Do you see that font? Do you see how it's written out? Look at his witness list in that video, and we'll show you that here in a second. It is not in the format that they use. It's a made-up document because whoever is the proponent of the witness list has to identify themselves as filing the defense witness list or the state's witness list.
Richey reluctantly recounted an incident that occurred approximately 2 months prior involving Wig.
So all he's doing is reading exactly what I read to you. He's reading the probable cause portion of the statement. And there's nothing in there that he says about this incident at all.
He stated he'd been in the Frenchtown neighborhood when the defendant threatened him with a firearm because he was associated with the South Side.
He threatened me? No, he threatened me. They're both saying the same thing, and both of them gave statements.
Roughly a week later, investigators interviewed witness 4, who according to the witness list is Trey Moore.
And you see this witness list that he shows here? That isn't how you black things out if it's a true witness list. Somebody just took a marker, and that wouldn't be filed with the court. And that's the other thing I checked on this thing. I looked at the court filings. Nowhere is that witness list filed. And it doesn't even fucking matter. The guy entered a plea. Nobody testified against him. And 2 witnesses, could have even been Mr. Ritchie, recanted their account of what their statement was to the cops earlier. This is really reckless stuff if you're not 100% sure. And even if you are sure, calling out somebody as a snitch can be very, very, very dangerous. So the long and short of it is this. 2 of the witnesses recanted. What does recant mean? Recant means that you go back on your statement. So you say one thing, he did this, and then you get up to trial and say, nah, he really didn't do that. I was wrong back. So you recant means you go back on what you said. So what I said before wasn't true. And so the state's case actually got weaker because those 2 witnesses recanted. So they probably offered him some other kind of deal that limited his prison time, and he took a deal. And he pled no contest. But it has absolutely nothing to do with what Mr. Ritchie said or didn't say.
He took to his Instagram posting Wig's statement and said, y'all gonna keep flagging or y'all gonna drop your nuts and speak on some real shit.
You got Boston Ritchie standing up for himself. Like I said, there's nothing in the probable cause statement which is, Jake goes through this whole probable cause statement. He reads it word for word. And I'm not going to do that here and bore you with that.
Everybody know Fool ratted on me.